Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar series, Balancing Work with Life. This webinar series is a five-part series in partnership with San Bernardino County, the Inland Empire Regional Chamber of Commerce, and the Otis Academy. Today's webinar, we're going to focus on balancing work with life, which is very important for all of us. I know I don't follow that from time to time, but it's very important that we keep that in mind and we learn how to balance work with life. Today's presenter is the Inland Empire Regional Chamber of Commerce Education Division Leader, Mr. Eddy Sumar, and he will go ahead and get started with the webinar. Take it away, Eddy.
Thank you very much, Edward, and thanks to all those who will be listening to this webinar and for those who are with us listening live. In fact, this webinar is very, very important for all of us, including me, to balance work with life. Whether we are young or old, we need to balance work with life. A student, their work is being a student, so their work in school has to be balanced with their life at home and their general life. If we are working, if we're entrepreneurs, we have to balance our entrepreneurial endeavors with our own life at home and with our families and communities. So really, balancing work with life is about being a whole individual, a sane individual, a healthy individual. In fact, if you look at this first slide, you see this person that is walking on a tightrope. And that's exactly what is happening to us every day. When we wake up every day, we are really walking on a tightrope. And there is no safety net in this picture. And if you look deeper into that picture, you see there are clouds around that person. Just imagine a gust of wind, a storm, hailstorm, anything that could happen while we are walking on this tightrope. Are we able to balance our life to keep on walking despite the storms of life? So in today's presentation, I'd like to help you build that mindset to be able to be balanced despite the storms in life by creating anchors and stabilizers, by really having deep roots. So no matter how strong the wind is, like a palm tree in the desert, it can kiss the floor, the sand of the desert in a very big storm, but then it springs up again and stand tall when the sun is up. So in our life, we need to really understand the power of balance, balancing work with life. Let's go now to the next slide. I'd like to share a quote by Sir Winston Churchill. He said, "Sometimes it is not good enough to do your best. You have to do what's required." Let me just zero in on the first part. It's not good enough to do your best. Every single one of us, we want to do our best. To be best at school, in college, to be best at working. But what happens if we just do our best? We could burn out. Just imagine if you are a student or you are a worker and you are trying to impress your boss. You might be working Monday through Friday, then work the weekends, start your work at 8 and stay till 7 or 9 in the evening. What happens to your life, to your health? Yes, you are being your best, but have you done what's required? That's exactly what we are going to think about today. What is required of us to be a healthy, balanced individual? Not just a balanced individual, healthy, mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, physically healthy, and yes, with the skills needed to perform at every level, the personal and the professional level. Now let's move to the next slide. And just life, success, and happiness is about balance. Notice in these words, you don't see money. Money is a byproduct of success. Money is a byproduct of our life. But happiness doesn't equate to money. And money doesn't give us happiness. So that's why when we think of balance, people think, if I work hard, I can get to a balanced life. Because people think if I work hard, I get money, I accumulate more money, then I'm going to be balanced. In this presentation, money is not the only factor. In fact, money could lead us to an imbalanced approach. Some people become greedy. They want more money and more money. They want to work more and more and more. And now their life at home is miserable. In my life, I've come across billionaires around the globe. I traveled extensively. I've been to 135 countries. You'll be surprised. In the Middle East, in Africa and Asia, I've seen people who are not well-to-do but extremely happy, and I've met people at extreme wealth and are miserable. Divorces, unhappy life, kids that they don't love their kids don't love them, and so forth. In fact, when people concentrate just on money, they create enemies. So really, when we think of life and success and happiness, think simplicity, think being good and kind, think don't burn out. Work to the point that you are not giving your life for work. Like, I love the quote when people say, we work to live, we don't live to work. Yeah, if I want to live, I have to work, but am I living just to work? No, then I have no life. So balance doing with being. You see, I love those two words, doing and being. Notice we have the English expressions, we are human beings, not human doings. So we really need to balance our doing with being and becoming the best that we could become. Now let's move to the next slide. Since we need to balance, I wanted to think of these words, point of equilibrium. Many times, just think about the human body. Many times people, they don't realize that the human body is about equilibrium and symmetry. Notice we have 2 legs, 2 feet, 10 toes, 5 on each leg in order to balance. We have 2 hands, 5 fingers in order to balance. 2 ears. In fact, the ear, when people get infection in their ears, it could lead to vertigo. And that is a very, very tough condition to experience when you have vertigo. When you lose your balance, your point of balance equilibrium, now you don't know where you are standing. Our eyes, 2 eyes, so we can see in a balanced way. Just imagine if you have only, when you go to the optometrist and it tells you to close 1 eye, now something is missing. We need our whole body in full balance, in full equilibrium to understand what is happening around us and to enjoy life. Now, the next slide is going to tell us the 7 steps to becoming a balanced individual. The first thing we need, know what causes your imbalance. Really, you are your best doctor. You need to diagnose yourself. If you feel out of control, if you feel stressed out, burn out, you need to say, what causes that imbalance? So the first step is identify the causes. The second step is know your key life roles. Because many times we get out of control because we don't have clarity of roles. Like, think about it. If you get a job and then all of a sudden you say, my job is to be executive secretary, or my job is to be the receptionist, or to be the customer service representative for the company. But lo and behold, another boss comes and said, by the way, I want you to do this. What is that? Oh, I'm a sales, or I'm a customer service, but I'm not a salesperson. Oh, I want you to make this sales call. Oh, by the way, I need to work on this marketing promotional. Oh, I need you to do this. All of a sudden, people feel burned out when their bosses or people around them keep delegating and adding more to the role. So know your key roles in life. Once you define that role, then you are able to decide what is required to be done in every role. So really, if you want to be more balanced at work, if I'm an employee, I'll ask my boss, tell me my expectations, tell me what you expect of me. That's why we say job descriptions. To create a job description, you start by looking at the organizational charts, the different roles in the company, analyzing the roles. From there, we get job descriptions. The job description will tell me what tasks, what are the qualification requirements to execute on that role and so forth. So really, if we are able to define our roles in life, then we create some boundaries like that tightrope. We can walk on that boundary knowing if we go to the right or the left without being balanced, we're going to fall. And if we fall, we ask the question, have I constructed a safety net? The third thing is discover your core values. very important in life. What is going to help us to keep going, to persevere, to be persistent, and to be patient and to endure are our core values. That's one thing I tell every human being that I meet. Work on creating a great foundation for your stability and balance. These are your values. So if you establish values of honesty, transparency, stability, quality, service, etc., then you are going to really have a good foundation. Think about it. If an entrepreneur decides to open a business, if they have values, the values gives them purpose, sense of purpose, and their purpose tells them why they get up every morning to go to work or to serve their clients, then they're going to be more stable because they're going to endure. They have core values that anchor them, roots them in reality, deep in the ground. So no matter what happens around them, they keep on going. So the fourth part, anchor yourself in those values and strengths. Notice I didn't say weaknesses. You need to know your weakness, but look for your strengths. Because if a plant is weak at any point, it will snap. Make sure that as you anchor yourself not on weaknesses, but on strengths, and fasten those strengths. Fasten yourself and bond yourself to those strengths. So notice so far, you identify, then you define, then you refine with cores and fasten yourself to those core values. Now build your toolkit, your tools, establish your aids, the supports, the assists, the facilitators, which means what can help me to be more balanced. Maybe as an employee, if I just got a new job, I lack some skills, maybe I need to go and learn these new skills that can help me perform better. So I will not be anxious and I don't feel lack of confidence in performing that job. Maybe I need to learn how to de-stress. So I can really learn some de-stressing techniques. I will share one of the techniques today, the breathing technique later in this presentation and others. The gratitude exercise. Many times when I feel overwhelmed, maybe it's time to stop and start thinking what things I'm grateful for. Even though today started with a cloudy day, but then all of a sudden you see there is a sun that is coming through. I always tell people, despite the gloomy skies, there is always a beautiful, brilliant sun. Just wait to pierce those clouds. I remember one time I was getting out of Ontario Airport. It was so rainy, it was so gloomy. By the time the pilot took off and pierced those clouds, wow, what a beautiful scenery above those clouds. So yes, there is always a sun there. We need to pierce the gloomy skies in order to get there. Number 6, advance toward your point of equilibrium. That means no matter what happens in our life, we need to keep on going. We call that resilience. I love this quote about resilience. It's not just bouncing back. If we fall, we bounce back. It's also bouncing forward. You bounce back, no, bounce forward. Keep on moving. Because if I bounce forward, I gain some steps towards achieving my goals and aspirations. And number 7, achieve and celebrate, succeed. That means in life, don't think in terms of the final destination. What really keeps us in balance and burn out is when we think, oh my God, I need to write a term paper. My professor wants 100 pages. I'm an author. I understand. Before you start writing a 100-page paper, you have to come up with a topic, then with the first sentence, then with the first paragraph, leads you to the first page, the first chapter, and so forth. So sometimes celebrate that you got the topic. Celebrate that the first page was written. Because something unique when you start writing, once you get to a point where everything has really congealed, things become easier. Like in any job, reach the point, the 50% point, 51%, everything becomes smooth sailing. When I used to do debt collection, I always, in a collection agency, it's amazing. I did a study. When a debtor reaches 51% of the debt paid, becomes easy, downhill. Until you reach that 50% point, people, it's a burden. I owe a lot of money. How can I pay off? But I used to bring all the debtors to the 50% point. Said, look, guys, we reached the middle spot. Now, remaining 50, remaining 49, remaining 40, remaining 30. And it's amazing. It's like a race. So that's really the purpose, to achieve and celebrate your successes, because now you know you're getting to the finish line, so to speak. So really, identify, define, refine, fasten, find your support, proceed, and succeed. Now let's go to the next slide. This is really an eye-opener. If you want a whole balanced life, I want you to think in terms of two circles, but then I want you to think in 3D thinking. This is not really a circle, this is a cone, which is a circle pyramid. You will be the top of the pyramid. For you to be really realize and self-actualize, now think of the cone now. It's like a pyramid. But notice it's like a wheel. The reason I chose a circle because we understand that if you have a car, any vehicle, you need round wheels in order to be able to drive safely and really smoothly. Can you imagine if you are driving on a wheel that is a square or a triangle? It's not going to go anywhere. It's very difficult. But if you have a wheel of balance, that's why then becomes easy to move forward in life. This is really what I call a balanced wheel. But then on the upper right-hand corner, you see another wheel with 3 sets of numbers, 8 hours, 8 hours, and 8 hours. Like some people say, we should be working 8 hours, that's 8 hours of labor. We should be recreating 8 hours, that means resting at home and so forth. And then another 8 hours of total rest, where you go to sleep. Like, this is a challenge. How many of us really get full 8 hours of sleep every night? I don't get that. In fact, I was so happy to listen to a neuroscientist from Australia many years ago that says, you don't really need full 8 hours. What the body needs is at least 3 to 4 full REM cycles, which means, he said, if you go to sleep for an hour and a half and then you wake up, but during that an hour and a half, you're able to dream, and then you go back to sleep again for another hour or two and you're able to dream, he feels that the body is able to relax. Because what is really dreaming? Dreaming is putting things in order. Just imagine, every day we wake up, we start wearing and tearing. And then what happens? Our mind starts opening a lot of drawers. Just imagine a library or an office with a credenza or a filing cabinet. And during the day, you're opening all these filing cabinets. But you're not putting them back. It will be great if we can close those cabinets. At night, through dreaming and through going through dream cycles, our brain starts shelving things, putting things into the subconscious, closing those drawers to be able to function properly the next day. But if we don't sleep enough, what happens? A lot of these drawers are still open. Have you tried to work in an office with every drawer is open? It's very dangerous. It could cause injury. So in essence, your brain is being injured from that clutter. So that's why we need at least those hours of rest. So the brain starts putting things in orders for retrieval later. But also, after 11 p.m., scientists tell us our body shuts down in order to repair our bodies at the DNA level. In fact, one scientist said there are about 65 operations that kick in when we go to sleep. Our body is like multiple factories that start repairing itself. So that's why if we don't go to sleep to repair, really, we are not fully rested. We are not repaired. Just imagine driving a car that hasn't been fully repaired and maintained. One day the engine will blow up. One day something will happen. So that's exactly our bodies. It's like vehicle. We need to maintain it and repair it. And in order to maintain and repair it, always has to be fully inflated. It has to be round. Let's look at the next slide to show you what our lives really is all about today. A lot of us are so professionally focused. We go to work, we try to do everything that our bosses want, but we neglect our society, our spiritual life, our financial life, our personal life, our communities and families. So really, we will be driving on tires that are totally flat. Can you ever drive on a freeway moving at high speed with one? Can you afford with one tire that is flat or totally damaged? No, you're going to really injure yourself and others. But sad to say, most people today, we are on the highway of life driving with cars that are not maintained, not repaired properly, and our tires are messed up, like in this picture. Now, let's go to the next slide and show you how we are going to be in full balance. This is really how our wheel of balance should be. And just remember, I want you to think of a cone now and a pyramid. And the pyramid is going to have 6 sections of it. sixth level, the personal level, to be counteracted by the professional, the spiritual by the financial and the material, society and the family. All these six levels are going to help you to be the best you could become, which means having a whole life, a balanced life, and not just imagine. If you are a vehicle on the freeway with this beautiful tire that is fully inflated with no blemish, with no part that is deflated, then what will happen? You are going to be not only, they always say, a good tire that's inflated also, it gives economy. It saves on fuel because there is less drag. You can even go faster and you are going to conserve on fuel. And also the car is not going to be really damaged in the way. But these, when you think of this part, I want you to think about these six, and you are the seventh practically. There are seven components in this picture. But also, if you have ever heard of Maslow's pyramid, I want you to think of the different of the needs, for example, that every human being requires. Like Abraham, the social psychologist, said that there are 5 levels of human needs that we need to achieve. One, there is the physiological needs. Second, there is the safety and social needs. Third, there is the need to belong. And then there is the self-esteem, psychological needs, and ultimately self-actualization. Now, whether you are an individual, a family, an employee, an entrepreneur, if we are not personally healthy, like when you think of personal success and personal needs, we think of our physical bodies. We think of our minds, mental health. We think of our hearts, our emotional health. So when you think of the person, you have to think in terms of the physical health, the emotional health, and the mental health. Now, when you think of the professional, then you say, how do I succeed? You look at the skills that you need, your career path. Are you just pursuing a job or are you pursuing a career path? So when you think of a professional success, you think of a career path. Then to be professional and to be successful, you might need specific skills that can help you not only thrive but and survive, but succeed and create a path of success. But just imagine if we stop at personal professional and we neglect everything else, you could be extremely successful. I worked in a collection agency many, many years ago, and you'll be surprised that a lot of actors in Hollywood end up in collection. Several actors that came through my desk ended up bankrupt. You would think actors are making millions. How could somebody who is making millions end up bankrupt? Because they don't understand how to balance their financial life. They don't understand how to manage themselves in the context of money. So financial health is part of the wheel of balance. If we are financially secure, then it gives us some balance in our lives. And if we are financially secure, we are materially secure, because finances allow you to buy a car, to buy a house, to invest, and so forth, to put your children through school, to put your children through college. So that financial balance is very key. It helps families to be more secure and safe in a financial sense. In fact, if you read some of the causes of divorce, one of the key components is financial instability. The family that went bankrupt, that husband and wife, now they divorce and so forth. And then financial material has to be counteracted by spiritual base. Do you have that values? Do you follow a divine person in your life? Do you have good anchors that stabilize you in times of pandemics and disasters? But many times we forget family. People that are very successful, I know of people that work really throughout the day. They are very successful entrepreneurs, but then all of a sudden they neglected their family because they were just busy working, but they didn't take care of their families. But now when we think of families, there is a bigger family that we need to look at, the society and community. Just look at what happened during the pandemic and in 2020. When people feel that there is no social justice, things will start getting worse. So really, when we think of family, we need to think of the bigger family, which is society. Yes, this is the job of governments and cities, and public servants, but also it's the job of every individual. And that's why individuals give back to charity, help their communities, because strong communities means strong families, means strong businesses, means strong persons, financially stable community, and so forth. So notice, each individual should look at these 6 components: personal, professional, financial, spiritual, society, and family. And now just look at the pyramid. You at the top, if you have everything that we talked about, what about your physiological needs? The need to breathe, to eat, to drink, you are taken care of. You have money, you can fulfill all these needs. What about safety and security? A good job, a good career, having shelter, having a good home gives you that safety and even spiritual security. What about the need to belong? You work for a company, you belong to a family, to a society. All of a sudden, all these components on this wheel are helping you even to fulfill the 3rd level of Maslow's pyramid, the need to belong, to feel cared for, and so forth. And then what about self-esteem and self-respect? Because when you have everything that you looked for, a good career, great profession, great business, beautiful cars, a home, and so forth, all of a sudden, that gives you self-confidence, self-esteem, and ultimately, it allows you to self-actualize, to be the best you could become. So this wheel of balance is key even to satisfying our ultimate desire of self-actualization. Let's now go to the next slide to show you. After we talked about how it should be in balance, you need to look at this wheel. That's to say, these red lines, even if we made that line even as a circle rather than a line, still, one is at 1, another is at 3, another is at 4, another is at 5. Is this really a balance wheel? If that was a wheel on your car, and imagine each wheel on the car is like this, you are not going to be able to drive on the freeway safely or smoothly. So in the next slide, what I want you to think, if there is an activity that you want to do, is describe your personal wheel of balance and answer the why. So there are 4 things that you want to contemplate. Is your wheel of balance out of control? Gives you a sense of feeling that everything there is out of control? Or is your wheel flat? You're not going to be able to go anywhere. Is it a need of balance? Or is it imperfect balance? So these are some of the choices that you have here to say, where are you in describing that wheel of balance? And really, there is no right or wrong answer. Each one has their own answer. But what's wrong is not to realize that you are driving your vehicle with wheels that are not fully inflated, because each wheel needs a specific point of inflation. When you go to put air in the tire, they look inside the car, say, okay, this needs like 35 psi, or it needs this, or 29, or 33, whatever. So each wheel has to have its own pressure and the amount of air in it. So in essence, is that wheel in full control? And is the wheel even in full alignment with that car? The next activity that you want to do, because this is really introspection, is determine your work-life balance wheel. You saw that wheel with all the red lines in it. Now, you are going to determine, because the next slide is going to show you like an empty wheel with all the components. Now, show the key components, display how it is in balance. So if we go to the next slide for activity number 2, that is your challenge. Take this, make copies of this screen, and then just say, in the personal level, from 1 to 5, you should be at 5 at practically at the edge of that. Every slice of this wheel should be at the edge, so to speak, to be totally in balance. It should be all at number 5. But it doesn't mean number 5 in personal is the same as number 5 in family. That's where the weights. You have to put weights in every slide. Like some slides will have maybe a 20% weight, other will be 30% weight, other will be 5% weight. But even that 5% weight should be at 100%, so to speak. Like if your weight for society involvement is 5%, you should be 100% of that 5%. If financial should be at 25%, you should be at 5. 100% of that 25% target. Like if you say, every month I want to save 25% of my income, then each month you should be at 25%. If you say, oh, this month I only saved 10%, then right there you are not at number 5. If you are not at 100% of that target. So in each slice of this wheel, you need to decide the weight, and then that gives you the percentage that you need to aim for. But you have to be all 6 levels at 100% capacity. Let's go now to the next slide. We now need to think of tools and aids. And notice the words acquire and maintain a practical toolbox. Practically, you need to acquire and maintain what you have, and then make sure that all the tools that you have in that toolbox that are pragmatic, practical, and applicable at that point in time. If something is outdated, take it out. Make sure that you have the upgraded, the most up-to-date tool. So the next slide, I want to share with you 7 different tools that I recommend, and it will really help you to be a balanced individual. And one of the key tools, whether you are, let's say, working for someone or working for yourself, whether you are like an entrepreneur or even at home as a parent, at school if you are a student, time management tool. It's very, very key to have in that toolbox this indispensable tool that we call time management tool. The second tool that you want, and the next webinar is going to be on time management, so I'll go in depth into that particular tool that we call time management. The second tool in the toolbox should be juggle multiple priorities, which really is about honing your decision-making and planning skills. Many people just make the decision without really understanding that there is a criteria. There are 6 steps to decision-making, and also without having a plan. In fact, there is a quote: if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Think about it. If you don't have a plan, really, you are planning to fail. So it's better to have a plan than not having a plan. And yes, there are steps to planning. So these are skills that we need to hone as individuals in order to be more successful in life, and yes, to be more balanced. Like imagine if you are bombarded by 100 things every day, you don't need to do all these 100 things. You'll be surprised that 80% of those don't even pertain to you. It's all clutter and noise. We need to learn from our brains. Our brains and our eyes and ears, they hear every second enormous amount of noise. But beautifully, our brain, eyes, and ears, they really filter and funnel to the point that of the billions of pieces of noise that we get on a daily basis, we only tackle few of them. Can you imagine living in a noisy world? We'll not be able to function properly as human beings. But our brain, our eyes, and our bodies are beautifully made that we can filter all of that so we can be balanced individual. Number 3 is an organizational tool. Many people really mistake time management with organizational tools. They are 2 different things, 2 different approaches. So in addition to time management, we need to be organized. Number 4, stress management tools. There are many people will take time to meditate, people will do yoga, other people do it. So in essence, there are tools that can help us to de-stress. Make sure that you have several of these tools in your tool bag. The 5th point is relaxation tool. Yes, we need to take time out. Vacation is important because it will allow you to unplug from everything you do, from your surroundings, in order to relax. And then creative tool. Some like to go up and climb a mountain. Others like to walk in nature. Others will swim. Others will paint, dance, etc. That is a creative tool, and we need that. And then we need a spiritual tool because we are human beings, and then we have spiritual needs. In fact, this is the 2nd level of Maslow's pyramid. When we say safety and security, they have added recently spiritual need in that section. So in essence, if we have these 7 tools in our toolkit, I can guarantee you that this could be the hallmark of all of us being balanced individuals. It's one thing to know what to do, is another thing to actually do what we know we need to do. That's why Winston Churchill said we need to do what is required. So really, if you look at the edge of this slide, there is managing your life, organize your life, and the wheel of balance. So this is the key. We need to manage ourselves in the context of life. We need to organize ourselves and to always be mindful that our wheel should be in full balance and in full equilibrium. Now let's go to the next slide. This is one of the activities also that I highly recommend. It's called the breathing and imagine exercise. Now, anytime when you feel stressed out, it's really amazing just to stop wherever you are. Just inhale 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds. And if you do that in sets of threes, it's really amazing. It's like all of a sudden you are stopping your breathing. In fact, sometimes I go to the doctor and my blood pressure is so high, and then all of a sudden say, okay, then I start doing my breathing exercise, and they come back in 15 minutes, and lo and behold, my blood pressure comes down. So a breathing exercise allows us to regulate our heartbeat, even our blood pressure. And when we say imagine exercise, also when we are doing this breathing exercise, the recommendation is to close your eyes in order to to really detach and disconnect from the clutter around us. And by doing the breathing exercise, the only thing you want to do is listen to your breathing. Let's take a couple of seconds here, or a few seconds, to take this exercise. First, we are going to breathe in for 4 seconds. Then we are going to hold for 7 seconds. And then we are going to exhale for 8 seconds. Let's start. You see, right there. During this spell of silence, I was able to exhale for seconds, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. Let's do it again. Inhale for 4 seconds. Again, I was able to inhale 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds. And if we do that in series of 3 times, it's really amazing how you feel. And especially if you close your eyes when you are doing this exercise, it really adds, because that's why when you go to sleep, have you ever tried to go to sleep with your eyes open? It's very difficult. Most of us, we have to close our eyes in order even to go to sleep. But when we do this breathing exercise, we can do it anywhere. When you are driving, you can do it, but keep your eyes open on the road. But if you are in your workspace, in the office, even at home, even if you are a student in college or in high school, wherever we are, if we're in a safe location, we can close our eyes and do these sets of exercises. I can guarantee you will feel better after you have done those. Now let's move to the next slide. This is another activity. Many times we wake up in the morning and all we think is of the best things that are happening around us. The gratitude exercise is so powerful. In fact, Cicero said, gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others. That is very powerful. That gratitude is the parent of all others. Now, let us list 6 things that you are grateful for. So this exercise is going to tell us to list 6 things that you are grateful for. Then you are going to perform 3 acts of kindness in the next 24 hours. Now, some people might find it difficult to list 6 things, but in reality, this is an easy exercise. If I were to list 6 things, I can say, I was able to wake up today. I'm alive. Number 2, I'm breathing. Number 3, I was able to eat. I've seen people in my life that they couldn't even eat. Imagine life without the ability to eat. We should be grateful that we can drink and eat and be able to smell the food and taste the food and enjoy that food. Number four, the sun is there. The sun is warm. It's beautiful. Nature is beautiful. Have you listened to some birds today? Today, doing some errands, I was able to listen to some birds and trees. That's beautiful. Be grateful for the song of birds. The trees for their shades. The blades of grass. Right there. The people around us. We exceeded six things, but most of the time, when we think negatively, we tend to see the world just dark and that there is nothing to be grateful for. Grateful for our friends, for people who believe in us, for people who help us to fulfill our dreams, help us identify our dreams. If we do that every day, what we are doing is positive conditioning of the mind. And perform 3 acts of kindness in the next 24 hours. Start at home. Maybe one act of kindness is to say, Mom, Dad, I love you, or thank you for doing this. You go to the store, you buy a coffee, say to the person who gave you that cup of coffee, it's a wonderful day, thank you. If we do that, these acts of kindness in a 24 hours beget other acts of kindness. So that's very powerful. Now let's go to the next slide. It's so sad around the world right now, one word in the dictionary is gone. Like in languages around the world, you hear the word thank you, merci, or gracias, or shukran in Arabic, or todah in Hebrew, and so forth. We need to put those back into the dictionary. We need to make sure, like when anybody, especially young ones, if somebody gives you something, say thank you. An older one, you're welcome. So in essence, what we are trying to do is teach the new generation and our kids and those around us the value of please and excuse me. In fact, in Italian, there are a very important saying. When you say thank you and excuse me, for example, there's always, you are welcome. Grazie scusi. Prego tornerò, they say. So in essence, are we putting that into the mindset? If we do, it will be a better place. And also, it keeps us in balance because now you feel good about yourself. When our bodies have dopamine and endorphins and oxytocins, we feel better. We are more in balance in our life. Now, the next slide, I'm going to show you again. Here is an exercise to design your toolkit for success and a balanced life. Since we are coming to the end of this presentation, I wanted to make sure that all the 7 key tools are in your toolbox. Under each tool, you need to gather 3 key parts or ideas that you'll apply in the next 90 days. Just imagine 7 tools, each tool 3 ideas. That's 21. Can you imagine apply these 21 ideas in the next 90 days? Just see how you feel after that 90 days. Now, the next slide, before we come to the end of this presentation, this is a bonus slide. We need to decipher the acronym ARC of change. Since 2020, a big change has happened around the world, the pandemic. And I was listening to different psychologists, and one psychologist, Barbara Trautlein, said that when change is thrust upon us, there is what they call the arc of change. Change will affect our autonomy, our relatedness, or our certainty. Usually change will affect one or more, but the pandemic has affected all at the same time. We lost our autonomy, we lost our relatedness, social distancing and masking, and the certainty of tomorrow. But she said there is another arc to be able to handle the arc of change, build agility, be resilient, and build the capacity to succeed and to thrive. In fact, the word change in Chinese encompasses 2 things. With every change, there is danger, but also there is opportunity. So in essence, to be a balanced individual, we need to understand that yes, there might be change on that tightrope. We might be walking on the tightrope, but there will be a gust of wind. Are we able to keep balance despite the wind? Or a hailstorm is happening. Can we continue to walk on the tightrope while the storm is raging? Have we deployed our anchors? Have we actually built a net underneath that tightrope to be able to catch us should we fall? Remember, with change come danger and opportunity. But an open-minded person is going to welcome the change and seize that opportunity. And with that, we come to the end of this presentation. I hope that in today's environment, that being balanced in what we do, balancing work with life, is going to be a beautiful gift to ourselves and to those around us. And with this, thank you very much for attending and for listening. And thank you for the Inland Empire Regional Chamber of Commerce for giving us the platform to be able to share these ideas with all of you.
Thank you, Eddy. Thank you for tuning in.